Welcome to Foundations TV, everybody. We are here today spending a beautiful evening with Shri MK Angajan ji. He is traveling all the way from South Africa, and he is a very well-read and a very learned Vedanta philosopher, very accomplished as well. He's traveling with loads of books and CDs of audiobooks of his own. So welcome to Boston and welcome to Foundations TV.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here.
It's an honor to have you here, and the discourse that you gave today about dharma is I'm sure connected with a lot of hearts and minds and spirits too in the room. It was really beautiful, excellent words. So we did get glimpses of those which we will be sharing with our audiences. So I would actually more intrigued about you as a person. I want to know your personal journey as, where were you born and how did you come on this path?
I was born in Kerala, and the spiritual journey is a very old interest right from childhood. And after I finished my schooling in Kerala, that is the North Kerala, Kannur, I moved to Bangalore for my higher education. I was studying electronics engineering, and then I discovered my calling, or my purpose, if you want to call it. So eventually my career chose me, in the sense of I switched my career from studying engineering to studying Vedanta philosophy and studying the success literatures and studying management, the corporate management, etc. And I married the Vedanta, the time-tested ancient Indian philosophy, and how is it related to practical life. So that was my change of career from engineering to studying Vedanta philosophy.
That is beautiful indeed. Now, during your discourse, we noticed that you were making some beautiful connections. You were talking about the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, incidents from Bhagavad Gita, and also Shakespeare. And you seemed so well read and so learned in all of those aspects, and also day-to-day life. So, tell us about all the scriptures you've read, and what do you feel the importance of those is?
The scriptures are an ocean, and a lifetime is not enough to complete that. So you need to, one need to select a specific scripture, for example, Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads or whatever that inspires one. You got to study that, reflect that, contemplate upon it, and go to the depth of it, digest it, assimilate it, and bring it into practical life. So to answer your question, what is the importance of it? Is to my pursuit is to bring the knowledge of this timeless scriptures to the modern times and its relevance in the practical world.
So, do you think such satsangs are an important part, and how can people benefit from such satsangs?
Now, it is a very important aspect of life. For every human being, living is an art. It is a skill. It is a technique. So we need to invest a certain amount of time every day to be able to learn that skill. All right. Ideally, every morning, about an hour, what I would call as the brutal time lock. We need to lock that time for the inner journey every morning, and then we come into the external world meeting the challenges of life. So this, the gathering like this gives them an opportunity to understand what exactly the importance of it, and they can go back and bring it in their practical life. So that is what I do in my journey, in my travel.
When you travel and you talk to, you give discourses, even at the corporate level, you're actually stimulating the mind and the spirit and the intellect of a lot of, very intelligent people. So I'm sure you get asked a lot of intelligent questions too. So is there a question, first of all, is there a question that you get asked a lot?
Yes, quite a few common questions, and one of the common questions is the buzzword that always talks about how to manage stress. And the second oft-quoted question is managing children. How to handle the children. How to develop them, how to create develop their mindset, the value system, education, etc. And some of the other questions that people often ask in a private discussion between one and one is about the relationship. The human relationship is, you can see the divorce rate is growing at an alarming rate all over. So they do come to me personally and ask me the question, how to improve my relationship? These are some of the off-court questions that I would face very often, not necessarily in the public platform, but very often in the private platform, especially the relationship is concerned. But the stress is one of the questions that people ask, okay? And then if I respond to that, stress is not really caused by the outside world. Stress is caused by yourself, and you are the master of it. And they find it difficult to digest it, but eventually they begin to see that, they go back with a great sense of excitement that it is not an irritable spouse or a difficult colleague or a terrible traffic that is causing stress. It is our reaction to that. So you can take full control of it, So they go back with a great sense of satisfaction.
And you also mentioned the question about children that got me curious too. So if you don't mind briefly answering that question as well about how to manage the children and their relationship with the children, and especially in this country.
Right. The children and their life are a reflection of the parents' life. All right. So if we need to grow the children with the right values and principle, the parents needs to live it. As the old adage goes, Yatha Raja Tada Praja. As the leader, so the subjects. Same principle is applicable to the parenting as well. What the children learn is what parents do. The children's mind is so powerful, they observe every bit of it. They have a photographic ability to observe everything. They may not listen to what the parents are saying, but they definitely do what the parents do. There's a saying that action speaks louder than words. But when it comes to parenting, action speaks about 1,000 times louder than words. So there are so many things to talk about, but one of the crux of parenting is that we have to live what we want our children to learn.
So set a right example. That's how it should be. Yes, very nice. Now, you've been doing this for 25 years, and you've been traveling the world and giving discourses, doing various workshops as well at various levels of audiences. Has there been a question which is extremely challenging, or something that you felt that was hard to answer?
Look, almost every question is hard to answer in the sense that the application varies, So I would never take any question as a simple question, because no question is simple, For a questioner, it might seem simple to me because I must have heard it and I must have spoken about it many times. But for a questioner, it is a very important question. It's a difficult question. So that is the spirit with which I respond to the question. So there are a lot of hard questions. And when it comes to the law of karma, when it comes to the dynamics of birth and death, etc., there are a lot of controversies, as it were. And also, as you heard today, the concept of dharma, there is a controversy there as also. And these are some of the knots in the philosophy of Vedanta, wherein it's very, very carefully we need to untie it.
Now, have you seen over the years, with the awareness factor is probably going up as the digital world is growing, and a lot of information is available on the internet. Have you seen that the confusion in the mind of a human being has increased over the years, or is it the clarity is taking over? What do you feel at the spiritual level for the human beings? What is going on as a species?
See, as a species, if you observe the world last probably a decade or so, there is a great deal of awareness about shifting the paradigm from material pursuit to spiritual. When I say that, along with our material pursuit of success, progress, etc., we need to incorporate the spiritual values. That's why you find there is a great deal of Indian gurus and masters and spiritual leaders emerging, and they're helping people in their own method. So there is a great deal of awakening, and the digital world definitely contribute to that if you approach it properly. However, when it comes to digital world, we need to be very wary about the technology addiction. Technology is a great tool, but we get addicted to, they master us, So we could use that to bring that inner awareness about one's own spiritual development.
Nicely said, indeed. Now, you did say that we've talked about the bigger picture now, just going down to the micro level. Have you witnessed in your lifetime somebody else besides yourself who has gone through a transformation, a spiritual transformation or growth or evolution, which is drastic enough and large enough to be noticed by someone like you, and have, you know, maybe even you've contributed to it, or we'd love to hear a little story about someone else's life.
No, great deal of quite a few cases. A couple of things, a couple of instances comes to my mind, like couple on the verge of divorce, and they came back together, and they realized that the problem is not with our spouse, problem is with ourselves, because our reaction, the other person's behavior is a reaction or response to our own behavior. So when I presented the idea that listen, the problem is not with your spouse, it is with yourself, and they were humble enough to introspect and take stock of their own life and situation, and they realized that it is not, and the cases, they actually withdrew the divorce notice, etc. And then, of course, by pursuing Vedanta, there are many people who got over their sleeping pills. Some of them who can't sleep without sleeping pills, and they've got over that and leading a normal sleeping pattern, etc. And there are some of the examples, and of course, numerous people, they take full advantage of the spiritual component of what we're teaching, so that they change their life, they think better, they bring about harmony in the family life, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So it's there are quite a few cases. Obviously, won't mention the names, etc.
That is beautiful. That's really nice. And we know that you are also going to be giving discourses for the next 5 days here in Burlington. So I'm sure a lot of people will be benefiting from it while you are here in the US as well. So thank you so much for your time. And if you would like to, I know it's hard to give just one message, but if that one last message that you would like to leave our audiences with, please.
Human life is a product of choice. Every moment of our life we are making choices. So when you make a choice, there's always a pain. To do the right thing, it's painful. So happy people, successful people make the right choice. When you make the right choice, there is a pain, and that is what I would call the pain of discipline. If you do not go through the pain of discipline, we are bound to go through the pain of regret. So the choice is, you can either go through the pain of discipline now, or we are sure to go through the pain of regret later. So when you make the decision, keep that in mind.
Beautifully. Thank you so much.